The Great Lakes hold over 6,000 shipwrecks beneath the surface, but 5 locations stand apart from the rest. These aren't just accident sites, they're graveyards, where the lakes have claimed vessel after vessel, decade after decade. Each one earned its deadly reputation through a perfect combination of geography and weather that turns routine voyages into disasters. From sudden November gales that appear without warning to hidden reefs that tear hulls apart, these killing fields have swallowed everything from wooden schooners to massive steel freighters. In this video, we're diving into the most notorious ship graveyards of the Great Lakes, where hundreds of captains made their final voyage and thousands of others never made it home. Welcome to Shipwreck History. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and help us get to 10,000 subscribers. Whitefish Bay sits at the eastern end of Lake Superior, where vessels funnel toward the Soo Locks and the safety of the lower lakes. It should be a place of relief for captains who've crossed Superior's open waters. Instead, it became the final resting place for some of the most famous vessels in Great Lakes history. The danger here comes from Lake Superior's most treacherous combination: sudden November storms that build with terrifying speed, hidden reefs that lurk just beneath the surface, and the false promise of safety when ships are still miles from shelter. Whitefish Point Lighthouse stands as a beacon of hope on the shoreline. Its 76-foot tower is visible for 25 miles on clear nights. But when November gales strike, visibility drops to zero, and even the most powerful lighthouse beam becomes useless. November storms on Lake Superior don't announce themselves with gradual increases in wind and waves. They explode across the lake with hurricane-force winds that can reach 90 miles per hour, building waves to 35 feet or higher. Ships that were making good progress suddenly find themselves fighting for survival in conditions that would challenge any vessel. The combination of wind, waves, and plummeting temperatures creates ice that forms on rigging and superstructures, adding dangerous weight that affects stability. This is exactly what happened to the Edmund Fitzgerald. On November 10, 1975, Captain Ernest McSorley reported increasing damage throughout the day as his ship fought massive waves. The fence rails had been torn away, ballast tank vents were missing, and both radars had failed. When asked about conditions, McSorley called it one of the worst seas he'd ever been in. His final transmission was, "We are holding our own," but 15 minutes later, the 729-foot freighter had vanished completely, taking all 29 crew members to the bottom, just 17 miles from safety. The November danger claimed vessels long before the Fitzgerald. In 1861, the sidewheel steamer Comet caught fire while carrying Civil War supplies through these same waters. The burned wreck later became a training ground for salvage divers. On August 20, 1920, the steel freighter Superior City collided with the steamer Willis L. King in Whitefish Bay, causing a catastrophic explosion when cold water hit her boilers. The Superior City sank rapidly, taking 29 of her 33 crew members with her. The steamer Vienna was inexplicably rammed in Whitefish Bay in September 1892, tearing a large hole in her port side. The Vienna sank in fair weather with no loss of life, though her wreck would later claim the lives of 4 divers. In July 1909, the John B. Cowell was rammed by the Isaac M. Scott in heavy fog off Whitefish Point, cutting the 400-foot freighter nearly in half. The Cowell sank in just 3 minutes, taking 14 of her crew members to the bottom. Hundreds of ships have been lost around the Whitefish Point area alone, making it the deadliest single location on the Great Lakes. Each wreck in these waters tells the same story. Whitefish Bay promises safety to ships that have survived hundreds of miles of open Lake Superior, but can deliver tragedy to those who arrive during November's fury. Thunder Bay, Michigan, is notorious for violent storms on Lake Huron. The name Thunder Bay first appeared on French maps in the 17th century, translated directly from the local indigenous name for the area. The real threat here is what lies beneath the surface. This area contains a maze of fixed limestone shoals that can tear ship hulls apart, combined with navigation patterns that force ships into an impossible choice between speed and safety. The geography creates a perfect trap. Ships traveling north through Lake Huron must navigate around Thunder Bay's treacherous shallow waters, before making the crucial turn west toward the Straits of Mackinac. Captains face constant pressure to save time, especially during frantic late-season runs before winter ice shut down shipping. But cutting corners here meant sailing over reefs that could appear suddenly in fog or storms, turning routine passages into disasters. When heavy fog rolled in, which happened frequently, visibility dropped to zero while ships still needed to maintain speed to stay on schedule. Before radar, captains had to rely on charts and compasses. Even after radar was introduced in the 1940s, it couldn't detect reefs directly. Sonar can pick up the shoals, but in earlier decades, it was primitive or not used consistently. Add sudden storms to the mix, and Thunder Bay became a ship-sinking machine. The Great Storm of 1913 demonstrated this danger with devastating clarity. Two massive low-pressure systems merged over the Great Lakes, creating what meteorologists called a meteorological bomb. Over 4 straight days, hurricane-force winds exceeding 90 miles per hour, combined with blinding snow to create whiteout conditions. The 500-foot steel freighter, Isaac M. Scott, while carrying coal to Milwaukee, fought these impossible conditions until the vessel rolled over and sank with all 28 crew members. The wreck lies upside down in 175 feet of water, its hull completely inverted on the lake bottom. But ships didn't need massive storms to die here. On August 9, 1865, the sidewheel steamer Pewabic was attempting to pass mail to its sister ship Meteor when something went tragically wrong. The Pewabic suddenly cut across the Meteor's bow, and the collision tore a massive hole in the hull. The steamer sank in less than 4 minutes with its valuable copper cargo, claiming an estimated 150 lives. The schooner D.M. Wilson, the freighter Monrovia, and dozens of other vessels all found their end in Thunder Bay's hidden maze. Each wreck tells the same story. The underwater landscape here doesn't forgive mistakes, and the navigation pressures guaranteed that mistakes would be made. Long Point extends about 25 miles into Lake Erie, creating one of the most deceptive navigation hazards on the Great Lakes. It's more than just a sandbar. Shoals and sandbars near the point can shift over seasons, making formerly safe passages dangerous. Lake Erie's shallow depth, averaging about 62 feet, makes storms especially lethal. Waves build quickly and become steep, leaving vessels little room to maneuver. Ships can encounter 15 to 20-foot waves that would challenge even large freighters, and the shifting bottom makes safe anchoring difficult. Winter adds another hazard. Ice forms quickly in the shallow water, but it doesn't form evenly. Pressure ridges and flows created real dangers for wooden vessels, and even steel-hulled ships risk damage if trapped. Captains caught in Long Point's waters during freeze-up often found themselves with no escape, forced to ride out storms in exposed positions. Pressure to finish late-season runs magnified these risks. Captains pushed ships through conditions they'd normally avoid, gambling against Long Point's unpredictable geography. The worst maritime disaster in Lake Erie history demonstrated this lethal combination. On August 20, 1852, the passenger steamer Atlantic collided with the propeller Ogdensburg in heavy fog near Long Point. The vessel was dangerously overcrowded with immigrants, many unable to follow commands from the crew. Chaos followed the collision, and between 150 and 300 people were lost, making it one of the deadliest shipwrecks in Great Lakes history. On December 8, 1909, the train ferry Marquette and Bessemer No. 2, carrying around 30 to 38 people and loaded with railroad cars, vanished during a winter storm. A lifeboat with bodies was found 15 miles off Erie, Pennsylvania, but the main wreck has never been discovered, and the mystery of her disappearance remains unsolved to this day. The whaleback steamer, James B. Colgate, sank off Long Point during the devastating Black Friday storm of October 20, 1916, taking 25 of its 26 crew members with her. Only the captain survived to tell the story. Each wreck underscores the same reality. Long Point's geography doesn't forgive mistakes, and the shallow lake magnifies every storm into a test of survival. The Straits of Mackinac form the narrow waterway connecting Lakes Michigan and Huron. At its narrowest, it is only about 5 miles wide, and every vessel traveling between the upper and lower Great Lakes must pass through this gateway. This choke point has made it one of the busiest and most dangerous passages on the lakes. Shipping through the straits has been vital since the 1800s, carrying iron ore, coal, and grain, with traffic increasing dramatically after the Sulaks opened in 1855. Here, rocky shoals and reefs can severely damage ships that run aground. Powerful currents run through the channel, shifting direction unpredictably as the winds change. Fog is common and can quickly reduce visibility to near zero, as fog banks roll in without warning, leaving captains disoriented in the shipping lanes. Radar helps vessels navigate, but it cannot compensate for strong currents. The schooner Sandusky went down here in September 1856 in a sudden November storm, fighting gale-force winds until she finally slipped beneath the waves. She rests upright, in about 80 feet of water, and though her replica carved figurehead still stands on her bow, the original was long ago recovered. The wreck demonstrates how even smaller sailing vessels could not survive sudden storms in the straits. On May 7, 1965, the 600-foot freighter, the Cedarville, collided with a Norwegian vessel in dense fog. The Cedarville capsized and sank within minutes despite the captain's attempt to beach her, taking 10 crewmen with her. She now rests on her side in 110 feet of water and is one of the Straits' most famous modern wrecks. Other notable wrecks include the Eber Ward, which sank on April 20, 1909, after striking an ice floe in the Straits of Mackinac. One lifeboat launched successfully, while another capsized during the frantic escape. 5 of her 16 crew were lost, and 11 survived the disaster. On October 3, 1890, the steamer Fred McBriar, while towing schooner barges, collided with the propeller Progress in the Straits of Mackinac. The collision struck at midship, and the McBriar sank rapidly, but all crew members survived. The wooden sailing schooner, M. Stalker, sank on November 5, 1886, after being struck by a barge while anchored during a gale in the straits. Fortunately, the crew had time to abandon ship with no loss of life. These smaller ships faced many of the same risks as the largest freighters when forced through these congested waters. Each disaster underscores the same reality: modern navigation equipment, including radar and GPS, reduces but does not eliminate the dangers of the straits. The straits demand near-perfect navigation, and no captain can ever fully guarantee safety. Georgian Bay presents one of the most complex navigation challenges on the Great Lakes. It's a maze of over 30,000 islands, where a single wrong turn can lead to disaster. The danger here arises from the sheer impossibility of the task. Every deceptive channel that appears navigable becomes a dead-end trap. This isn't just difficult navigation, it's navigation that defies human capability. The islands create optical illusions where distances become impossible to judge accurately. Even experienced local pilots with decades of knowledge sometimes misjudge these deceptive waters. Weather exacerbates the challenge. Fog can roll in suddenly, reducing visibility to zero, while a ship is threading between islands with no room for error. Snow squalls in November create whiteout conditions, where captains lose all sense of direction. Strong winds can push vessels off course just enough to drive them onto hidden reefs that don't appear on any chart. The passenger steamer, Wabuno, learned this lesson on November 22, 1879. Carrying 24 passengers and crew from Collingwood to Parry Sound, the vessel disappeared completely during a massive snowstorm. Despite extensive searches involving multiple vessels and hundreds of volunteers, the wreck was eventually found, but the bodies of the passengers aboard were never recovered. While the wreck itself was eventually found, the Wabuno left behind one of the Great Lakes' most enduring mysteries. What exactly caused the disaster that claimed everyone aboard? In October 1895, the American cargo steamer, Africa, vanished with all 11 crew members aboard. The vessel was lost in an early October snowstorm, becoming one of Georgian Bay's many unsolved mysteries, until filmmakers discovered it in June 2023. In 1906, the coastal steamer, J.H. Jones, disappeared near Lion's Head with 30 passengers and crew, found only in July 2018 after more than a century on the bottom. The Africa, the J.H. Jones, and dozens of other vessels all discover that Georgian Bay's island maze is also a ship-sinking labyrinth where one navigation error can mean tragedy. The graveyard of the Great Lakes tell the same story, again and again. Experience, caution, and modern technology mean nothing when geography and weather combine against you. These 5 locations claimed vessels from every era, from wooden schooners to steel freighters, proving that the lakes respect no ship and will spare no crew. Each graveyard earned its reputation through a unique combination of dangers, but they all share one truth. They turned routine voyages into final journeys for thousands of sailors who never made it home. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share, and let us know in the comments what shipwrecks you want us to cover next. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and until next time, keep exploring.